author of How to Get a Bachelor's Degree with Little to No Debt, a book that provides practical strategies for students and parents to prepare to attend college. Also is a great resource for guidance counselors as they help students to go to college. Tonight, I have with me Miss Natasha Oates. Natasha Oates is a speaker, entrepreneur, relationship coach, therapist, philanthropist, wife, and mother. She understands the challenges that come along with balancing many roles, many.
Yeah.
She's living proof that building a legacy of loving marriages is possible, even if not present from many generations before you. Her mission is to create legacies of strong families, wealth building, and community influence. She is the founder of Up Company, where she is known as Charlotte's millennial relationship and life coach. Natasha helps to uplift professionals through conferences, coaching, and counseling services. Natasha has a master's degree in counseling and is a proud graduate of North Carolina Central University and Gardner Webb University. Thank you for joining me tonight, Tasha. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yes, tonight we're going to talk all about developing healthy relationships in college. So before I get started, tell me a little bit about your journey with how you got into counseling and why is relationships and family so important to you?
Wow, that's a great question. I really think it's my calling. It's something that I've been gifted to do. I've wanted to be a therapist since I was in middle school. I knew that early on. I just didn't know if I wanted to actually go through with all the schooling that it would take to get there, but I knew that I was interested in the field. And becoming a therapist, it definitely gave me another set of eyes on my own life, not just on who I could possibly help, and really seeing all the strong, beautiful, women have it going on in my family, but at the same time, seeing all of the dysfunctional relationships, generation after generation after generation, I knew that in starting my own family, that I wanted to break that cycle. And so I have the privilege of not only doing that in my own life, but helping couples do that in theirs. So I love what I do. Love it, love it, love it.
Oh, wow, great. That's awesome. You knew in middle school that you wanted to help families and couples be better them, be a better person.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I'm going to go into a few questions and you could just share me your thoughts. The first question I would like to ask you is, what should students consider as they begin developing relationships in college? You mentioned that you wanted to do this since, such a young age in middle school. So then how do you think that prepares students, or what should they be thinking about as they go to college?
That's a great question. When you go to college, you're really trying to figure out, okay, who is now my current support system? Because you're away from mom and daddy, and even a lot of the friends that you went to high school with. So you have to make all these new connections, and that can be really overwhelming. Something I think is really important for folks to remember for students, whomever you center yourself around for the majority of your college career, it's a key predictor of where you're going to go and how far you're going to go. We don't want to be deep. Oh, they're fine, they just kind of hang out and play around and I just have fun with them. But eventually that saying, the birds of a feather flock together, is true. It's very true. So you really want to be mindful who does a good job in your circle of having fun, but also being serious about their studies and being really serious about making networking connections and internships. Who's really thinking about their future and who's just thinking of the right now. Because It's not cute to have college debt when you don't have a degree.
That's true. Yes, that's true. No one thinks about that because they're just there living it up, having a good time. And then if they graduate or they don't graduate and they have that debt, then it's a whole nother ball game. And now they're mad and disgruntled and mad at the world. So that's true. That's so true. So with that being said, then how can students overcome the pressures to try to fit in? How do they overcome the pressures of fitting in with students that don't have their best interest in mind?
Yeah, that's easier said than done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But something that's really important and key people can't help but to show who they are, even if it's in small increments. So I like to say, follow the breadcrumbs. If you notice that your friends, y'all have a great time together, and they're always laughing about the latest gossip of, the other friend, they're probably going to be talking about you eventually. They're probably not somebody that you want to trust. And also just really relying on your gut instinct. Sometimes we minimize what we know intuitively, but we can't put our finger on it. It's really important to do that too.
So what's like I was looking at Grownish, and Grownish kind of exposed the whole like drug culture in college and how they're like popping pills and doing all these drugs. What do you say about that? Like maybe kids or students, like the girl in the show, she wasn't really exposed to it before. She knew the dangers of it, but yet she see herself falling into that trap. So like how, because it seems like it's so hard to overcome sometimes negative peer pressure, or, people make all these comments about why it's okay. So how can they like overcome that negative like drug culture and just trying to fit in, and it's the first time away from home, so now they get to try these things. It's different when your parents say it versus when you're actually in the situation.
Absolutely. It's really important to just be honest about who you are and who you want to be. Now this might be a little different, but I also want to say know what's in your own family tree that you're more susceptible to. Some of us are more susceptible to developing addictions and things like that. Another tip would be, don't just mingle with one core group. College is so expansive as far as the different people you can associate yourself with. And one of the easiest ways to maybe develop a new support system, a new group, is to join groups at school, join all these organizations that they have on campus. That's probably the easiest way you can do it. But don't center yourself just around that one core group, because if they fall apart over some drama, what you gonna do then?
Right. That's so good. That's so good. You do have to be diverse in a sense with your different friends. You have your friends in this department, your friends in that department.
Yeah.
That's so true. I never really thought about it like that. I feel like when I was in school, I think I diversified pretty well. I had friends in the business school, in the band, sorority, other friends. So I think, that may have had an impact. I never thought about it like that at the time, but that's a very good key.
So you were doing it without even thinking about it.
I didn't know any better. I was just out there doing stuff. So that's really good. I really like that. With that being said, for parents who, they try to shelter their kids away from the media and, have their kids grow up in a very conservative environment so that they don't see everything that's out there. What would you say, or what kind of advice would you give to parents who strive to shelter their children from the media or negative things that are contrary to their beliefs, such as, if they have Christian values or any other religion values? So then they try to shelter their children. But what should you tell them? What's your advice for what they could do as they prepare their child at college?
Yeah. So I am a parent, and I am slowly learning to do this. I think historically it's been the thought that if I keep my child away from certain things, it'll protect them and help them. But the real world doesn't work that way. We're not walking in bubbles and helmets on, So I encourage parents to walk with their child when these issues come about, and to try to be the first person that has conversations with them about these things that usually are so taboo. You really want to be where you're training your child to think for themselves versus just thinking of ways to protect them. A child that has their own mind is much more safer than someone who has to have protection from an outside force or an outside element. Because you got to remember, at college age, they're really at the beginning of adulthood. So these things should have already been instilled while they're teenagers. You should be having hard talks. Do what you got to do to pump yourself up, whatever you got to do. But as parents, we have to have those hard conversations so that we can get our kids thinking for themselves in a way that's productive.
Why do you think it's so hard for parents to have those hard conversations?
I think culturally, that just isn't the way that you handle things. I know in African American communities, I know in my own family, culturally, you just don't talk about it. And we have to really get over that, because that's the main factor of why so much happens, because we don't even have the language to address stuff when it comes up. If your child isn't comfortable talking to you about things, if they're in trouble, they're not going to come to you, or they're not going to reveal all that they need to reveal to get the appropriate assistance and support. And that's not what you want either. So have those hard conversations, have them early, try to be the first one to have it with them, and just swallow whatever nerves you got and do what you got to do as mom and a daddy.
That's so key. I know some people who have like those very conservative environments, and my fear is always like, will your kids know how to engage then with other people once they go to school? They haven't been in public school, so now that they're transitioning and getting older, about to go into public or in the college setting, my whole fear or challenge to them was just, will they know how to engage with other students, because they really have been in a bubble and they're not exposed to a lot of things. So. And then we always hear those stories where kids go off to college the freshman year and they just turn buck wild. It's just like, what is going on? They're just doing everything. So I always think that it's always good, I think, for parents to kind of have those conversations, as you say, and really teach them how to think. That's so key. We're teaching them how to think. How to think. So that kind of, transitions into my next question with teaching students how to think, becoming their own person. How then can students, or what are some advice that you have for students that could develop positive relationships with professors as they begin to achieve their educational goals in the midst of large classroom sizes, foreign accents? If a teacher gives them a bad grade, how do they come back that without being disrespectful in a sense? I know that's a lost word, but as a college professor myself, I know students can be very disgruntled and they don't, like I would never speak to a professor the way that some students do things. So how would you say, with challenging the children how to think on their own, what's the best way that they could develop these positive relationships with authority figures?
That's a loaded question.
It is, huh?
It's making me think about a few things. Sometimes we don't think about, sometimes if your value is nobody can talk to me any kind of way, they're going to get something, they're going to get a large reaction. If that is the value you carry around, it's going to be very hard for you to succeed in life in general, because succeeding in life is all about building relationships. Those same professors that get on your nerves and they doing too much are the same ones you need for professional references for your first internship and your first job, period. So you got to be really careful with that thing. You're going to need professional references for that. If you plan on going to graduate school, you need professional references to take these exams to get into the graduate programs. It's key. I love when you asked about, let's say you're one student out of a seat of 300 students in a class. How in the world do you make yourself known to a professor so you can even be remembered and get a professional reference? Kind of go against the grain. What I'm finding is that you really have to be okay with being extra, doing a lot more than other students will, being okay with being different and bold to get to whatever you want. And whether that's people judge you or people ridicule you, whatever, okay, but I'm going to do what I got to do to get what I want. So that might mean if the professor helps you, send them a card. Nobody else is doing that. That's easy. If you like many college students, and it was like me, you don't have money for a card. You already spent that refund check. Go ahead and send an email. They have e-cards, or you can put something very personal in it that would make them think about you. Like, the way that they advised you about some new study habits or some things that was really a block for you that they helped you get through, that it'll make an impact on you where you'll never forget them. Like saying something really personal. Even if you're flunking, Like, I'm flunking. This is hard. I would love any advice that you have. Let the professors know you want their advice on what you can do to better study, prepare, whatever it is. Let them know that you're not just, oh, well, got an F. So those are some easy ways that you can stand out and see how you can bring value to your professors. Do you know any of their interests that you can shoot them an email if you find an event that's connected to something they're interested about? Do you know that they do need help with grading papers or what have you? Be extra.
Wow,
and get what you want to get out of life by being extra.
Wow, that's great advice because it transcends into so many different areas. It's not just college. It goes into the workplace. It goes into other places. That's so key. Being extra, really stepping up and showing them that I am here and I am valuing my experience in college. I think that's so key because that will allow you to grow and advance not only in college but outside of work. And it helps you to develop those healthy relationships.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is be forgettable.
Exactly. That's so true. People will know you because of what you do.
That's right. Especially your boldness as a young person. You're going to stand out by doing those extra small steps.
Yeah, that's key. Wish I would have known that when I was in school. I think I literally just used to go and do office hours, like sit in our office until I got it. Because certain things was just more challenging. But yeah, I should have thought about sending a card to say thank you for saying.
Yeah, nobody else is doing it.
Yeah, to do the office hours with me, or I should have did something like that. Yeah. I think in general, whenever students take the extra step, like you said, to kind of develop that relationship, even if it's talking with them for a few minutes after class, the professor knows. They know they're trying at least, so that's so key. I think that's very good. And then with my last question, we talked about the classroom. We talked about how parents can help their student or child overcome peer pressures and what kids or students should know to try not to fit in and really be successful in college. My last question is relationships. We know that romantic relationships are a new area for students in regards to no parental supervision. What should students know about romantic relationships as they, begin to develop into a young person in college?
Oh my.
There's a lot of marriages that start from college. So.
They do. Now, a lot of marriages start in college and a lot of scandals start in college too. So, just understand there's a balance there, right? So with that being said, it's really great to go at a turtle speed with becoming serious. Yeah, turtle speed with becoming serious in relationships because commitment is hard anyway for really, really grown folks in marriages, let alone someone in a college setting where, everyone's dating everyone. So you want to take your time and kind of see what are they showing you over time? What are they showing you beyond 3 months? What is their baggage? All the good stuff. What is their baggage?
Do they know baggage at that age in college? You think they know what baggage is? You think they have baggage?
I think they know what it is, but oftentimes, even with grown women, we notice the sign and ignore it, or explain it away, or keep going. Follow those breadcrumbs; they are there. We should be looking for signs of, could this be a potentially controlling person? Dating violence is a real issue. Could this person have a substance problem, alcohol problem? A lot of people go through that during college and they never drop it. It continues to be an issue. Is this person really focused on building a future for themselves? Are they really goal-oriented, or are they just having a fun time? Dating tends to be more about fun and companionship versus I am connecting with someone that I can build something substantially with. So, turtle speed. in summary.
Do you think parents should try to engage with their child to see what they're doing as far as relationships? Or how should parents kind of try to understand what's going on? Do you think they
You know what? Hopefully they've been doing that before college. Because God bless them if they just all of a sudden start asking about their personal love life. That's not going to go too well.
Yeah.
So there's a interesting balance of being a parent and being a friend.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't want to be so much of a dictator and so removed from your child's life, their inner life, that you don't have that rapport where you can check in about, how is the relationship going? Do you have any concerns? What do you really like about the person? You want to develop that close personal relationship with your kids so that, it's not, oh my God, mom is asking about, who I'm dating now. Yeah.
Do you think that today's parents are more into that whole building a close relationship? Because I think our parents and maybe the parents before was just like children were seen and not heard. They did what they said do. It wasn't no personal relationship. It was, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Period. So you think, is that something that you're starting to see like with younger parents or let's say our age parents?
It's interesting. Sometimes when we have the old school kind of parent that's like, every move you make, I know where you're going, but not really, how's everything going with school and your friends and all of that. The opposite can happen when you raise kids. So I'm seeing parents who are very loose in rules, and the kids are getting everything without earning anything. Some have a good balance, but I usually see polar opposites. Either there's not a lot of boundaries at all, or there's too many and the kid is so restricted. But I do see that sometimes where there's a balance, but I know it's a hard thing as a parent to create that balance of how do you set enough limits, and yet how do you be open enough to talk about things that you're probably cringing to hear the answer to.
That's key. That's so key.
Yeah.
Would you like for your child to go to college, or are you thinking entrepreneur or sports, or what are your thoughts about your own person, your own child?
That's a great question. I want her to leverage whatever she wants to do with a wonderful plan. I don't see the problem with going to college if you want to be an entrepreneur. There's colleges that have coursework in entrepreneurship. And I'm an entrepreneur, but I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing without having gone to college as a licensed therapist. But whatever it is, she will have a thorough plan if she's not going to college. Thorough. And I'm still going to question that.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I had a great conversation, Tasha. Tell me again, how can people get in contact with you?
Yes. Would love to connect on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn under Natasha Oates. Also on Instagram under Natasha Inspires, and also on the Facebook under my business name, The Up Company. So love to connect. And you can also visit my website at www.uptowncharlottecounseling.com.
Oh, wow. Uptown Charlotte Counseling. I like the name. We have a lot of uptown symbols and everything downtown.
Okay.
Uptown Charlotte Counseling. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. This again has been Sheena Hogue with How to Get a Bachelor's Degree with Little to No Debt. Please be sure to follow me on Facebook at How to Get a Bachelor's 1 and subscribe to my channel on YouTube at Sheena Hogue. Thank you so much, Natasha. I will talk with you soon.
Okay.
All right. So that ends the video.
Okay, that was good.